Now, the gradient tool and the paint bucket tool are two very useful tools, and they're located over here with this icon, and we click on it and see three options in the drop-down list, the bottom of which is the 3D material drop tool, which is an item that is outside the scope of this course, so we will ignore it. However, the paint bucket tool and the gradient tool are things we'll use quite frequently, especially in landscape photography, which is where I use it most of the time. Let's take a look at the basic functionality of the gradient tool, and we click on it, and we have to give particular attention up here to this area of the options bar. Now, there are other options available to us, and we'll go over those in just a second. The most important setting is going to be right here, and this is what you double click on to get the gradient editor to come up. And you'll notice a lot can be done with the gradient to construct it the way you want it. If you want to compress the area, then you move these sliders, and it will gradient only from here down to here, a much narrower field of gradient. And we move it back to the very end, and we see this gradient becomes much more gradual. Now, if we double click on this little area right here, we have the color picker that comes up. Let's go to a orange color, and we see that that's changed right there, and we hit OK, and then we will have the colors come up. Let's go ahead and just draw a gradient so we can show how it works. And we start at the top and come down, and we can see that we have an opaque gradient deposited over the surface of this image. Now, don't let that scare you. This is just a demonstration of how the tool works. And we can go from left to right on the tool. We can go from right to left. We can change the direction and the configuration of the gradient itself any way we want to, just by drawing the line in any direction that we want the gradient to proceed in. Now let's go ahead to the beginning. Come down to the next one. Now, where I use it more than any other is in masking applications. And so what we'll do is go to the Layers palette, and we'll establish a copy layer, go Control-J on the PC or Command-J on the Mac. And then let's take the middle layer, we'll disconnect the top layer, and then we'll come up here and use a plug-in under the Filter drop-down list all the way to the bottom where it says Nix Software. Color Efex Pro is a really great plug-in for Photoshop, and if you don't have it, you should download the trial version and play with it, because it really is. And as you can see, what I want to do is bring out the detail in these clouds, and then we'll go ahead and click OK to keep that adjustment. Now the Color Efex Pro has given us an image that brings out the detail in the clouds. I think this area down here is looking a little bit unnatural. I really don't like the way it looks, so we're going to come to the top layer, reactivate it, and then we're going to get our mask established right here, and I'm going to go up and change the color to black. And we'll say OK to that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the normal blend mode, and that's using a mask. We'll do this one of two ways. We'll start at the top, come down, and we can see that instantly we've created a gradient on this mask which really allows this effect to blend in. Let's take a look at the before and after, and I like the way that the blend occurred right here, which makes this look a little more natural than this does. But I really think that we can probably bring out some more detail here. So what I'm going to do is let's go to the history, and we're going to back up and start again. And this time I'm going to take the gradient, start from here, and only come down to about right there. Now we have a really good delineation between a natural looking lake and reflection and the little village of Hallstatt in Austria, and bringing out more detail in the clouds. And it was as simple as simply drawing a gradient on the mask. Alright, now let's take this off. Now let's do this another way. We'll go ahead and choose the center layer, and this time we're going to change the blend mode up here from normal to overlay. So let's start from the bottom this time and come up, and you can see that that's not what we want, so let's do it again. I'll come up to history. There we go. Now go to layers. We'll start from the top and come down. And that's looking a little more like what we want. However, it's not quite exact, so let's go back and do it again. But you get the idea of how this works. It's trial and error. So we're going to click this, and then come over to layers. We're going to click that. Now I think the effect was a little bit pronounced, so let's reduce the opacity on this down to about 63% and see what we get. We'll go ahead and draw from here down to here, and that's looking a little better. I think I like that a whole lot better.